and welcome to the 249th edition of Beer Issues. My name is Matt Brucker, and I'm coming to you live here from Casa de Brucker. We're going to be having another very good beer. Today we're going to be having from the new Belgium Brewing Company, we're going to be having the Oakspire, which is a barrel-aged ale using Four Roses bourbon. So I'm really excited because I do love me some Four Roses bourbon, and I like a good ale, a good strong ale. So we'll go ahead and kind of talk about this as we're getting ready to have it here. I'm going to pour this into my beautiful Oviedo Brewing Company glass here. We're going to talk about the beer. This beer is rated 85 out of 100, which makes it a very good beer. And I might even rate it a little bit higher than that myself, having had this before. But we're going to go ahead and talk about it. The beer clocks in at 9% alcohol by volume, so it's not one that you're going to pound by the poolside. I was really excited to try this beer because I love me some good bourbon and I love me a good strong ale. So the combination of those two to me was just too tempting to pass up. Now, New Belgium Brewing is out of Colorado, okay? And this is considered a strong ale, but like I said, it is bourbon barrel aged. And apparently they have this special infusion system that they do with this beer that has never been done before. That's supposed to get the flavor of the bourbon and the oak into the beer. And I think that's part of it is this Oakspire. And I'm not really exactly sure of the details, but it's supposed to be a proprietary type of thing that they're doing to give it get that flavor in there. Okay, so first of all, just look at that beer. That beer is absolutely beautiful. You have a nice, like tannish, reddish, strong ale. Perfect retention. I mean, it's still just sitting right above the top of that beer. Absolutely beautiful. So, if nothing else, it's a picture-perfect beer. But I know it's more than that. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to kind of smell it and see what we think while we're waiting on it to that foam to settle a little bit. But so what I'm getting in there, I'm getting the malty smell, which you'd expect of a strong ale, but I'm also getting the oak and a very faint smell of the bourbon. Now, I'll be honest with you. When I first saw this in the store, I was like, oh my goodness, I can't wait to drink that. But it does not have as much of a bourbon flavor as I expected. Not to ruin the experiment we're doing here, but I expected it to be packed full of that Four Roses flavor. Now, Four Roses is a beautiful bourbon, a smooth bourbon, but it does have some spice to it. So I expected a little bit more of the Four Roses, which to me, I wasn't disappointed. I was just surprised because the beer itself is very delicious with the amount that they have in there. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're gonna take a sip of it so I can kind of refresh my brain from when I had it the other day. Okay, so you do get the taste of the ale, which the good thing is that they do, and they're kind of really good at this, is they make the beer, but they don't drown out the flavor of the beer with too much bourbon, okay? For me, I love bourbon, but I think for most people, they want the beer to taste more like a beer with maybe have a hint of bourbon, which is what they did. I think they did a nice job of pulling it all together. Tasting this beer, I would never expect it to be at 9% alcohol by volume. You get a boozy flavor, but there's definitely a malty sweetness. Four Roses is a little bit on the, for a bourbon, it's a little bit on the smoother with a little spice side. So it's not overpowering the beer. It's a nice blend of a nice strong ale with the bourbon barrel. And now I do get a taste of that oak in there also. That's something I don't want to forget about, because kind of in the middle, it's weird because it finishes almost a little bit sweet, believe it or not, which you wouldn't expect. You get the alcohol right up front, then you get that oak kind of in the middle, and then it finishes almost like a malty sweet. Oh, it's delicious. Like I said, I love the bourbon, so if they even put a little bit more bourbon in there, I wouldn't be upset, but I'm not upset that they didn't, because it gives way to a delicious beer. There is such a thing as too much bourbon. If I wanted to drink just bourbon, I would just pour myself a glass of bourbon. But bourbon and beer is a fine balance of making sure you get the right amount of bourbon to give it the flavor, with the right amount of beer to keep it a beer and not a glass of bourbon. Okay, so I think they did an excellent job at this. They say rated 85. I would probably give it at least an 87, 88. That's just my opinion. I would say it's definitely a very good beer, though. Oh, it's delicious. So if you see this in a store, and I think they come out with this seasonally every year. It's a special release. I think they started it last year, if I remember right. Make sure you check it out. I don't know if it changes every year. I think this might be the first year of the Four Roses. But make sure you check it out, because it is definitely, they do it right, and I think you'll really enjoy it. So if you've enjoyed this, make sure you tell your friends about Beer Issues and how much fun we're having talking about great beer and drinking great beer. If you want any cool Beer Issues gear, like Beer Issues hats, t-shirts, phone cases, anything like that, go to shop.beerissues.com. And as my wife likes to say, I have beer issues.